We have some breaking news on a Monday afternoon around the New Orleans Saints, and it is that the fact that the Saints have signed the veteran wide receiver James Washington to a one-year deal. Now, we were going to break down the rookie minicamp winners and losers, but we had to break this down because Jeremy Fowler reported the news. And just as a note, Jeremy Fowler over the weekend reported that James Washington was going to be visiting with the Saints today. Now he leaves New Orleans with a deal, and Jeremy Fowler reporting free agent wide receiver James Washington is signing a one-year deal with the Saints. Per source, the former second-round pick with the Steelers is a new target for Derek Carr. And before we get into my reaction, my breakdown, my analysis, and just kind of some information around it, I need you to sound off. What is your one-word reaction to the signing of James Washington? Let me know. I want to hear from every single one of you, Who Dat Nation. Share your thoughts, weigh in, and I can't wait to see what you got to say. So over the last 4 years, James Washington has been one of those players that you cannot help but recognize the name. So in 2019, 44 receptions for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 735 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 16.7 yards per tote. And that's in his sophomore campaign out of Oklahoma State in the second year of the NFL. And in 2020, he played in all 16 games, 30 receptions, 392 yards, 5 touchdowns, and averaged over 13 yards per catch. In 2021, he had 24 receptions, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns, and just under 12 yards per catch. And then in 2022, he spent the season with the Dallas Cowboys, only recorded 1 reception because he didn't play many games. He only had 2 games played. He was dealing with a foot injury all last season. We'll get into an injury update around him on the later part of this video. But here's how the wide receiver depth chart shakes out now. So you have Chris Olave, Micahel Thomas, Rashid Shaheed. Those are your guys on the outside, and that's your main slot. Obviously, the Saints like to use a tight end as well. But then you drafted A.T. Perry. You have Keith Kirkwood. You signed James Washington. You also have Traquan Smith. You also have Bryan Edwards. You also have Kwan Baker, You got Kirk Merritt, Malik Flowers, Cy Barnett, and Shaq Davis. So this is a loaded wide receiver room. And I love this move. I really do like the idea of signing a veteran wide receiver because you want competition. You want quality competition. You don't just want some average Joe or some schmuck coming around and coming into your locker room and just trying to compete for a spot on it if he's not going to bring the best out of the guys around him. So I love the fact that the Saints go and get a liable and very useful deep threat for Derek Carr because at the end of the day, more depth is better. And I love having wide receiver depth. I've said it plenty of times. I'm very, very greedy when it comes to wide receiver depth. And now what I will say is this feels like it means no Jarvis Landry back to the boot. I think that this pretty much seals the deal on that. If they were to add another wide receiver, I would be wildly shocked. But the Saints do have some roster spots to give up, so I can't say it's impossible. It just feels like it's unlikely. But Saints fans, this is why you subscribe. The second that this news came out, we got into the lab, we got into the stew, and we cooked up this video for you. So if you want to stay informed around all Saints news, all rumors, all offseason coverage, and even coverage throughout the regular season and playoffs, Super Bowl, all the year-round coverage, you need to lock us in, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Join the 14,305 other Saints fans who have subscribed already. Lock us in, turn on your noties so that way you never miss a video. So for Derek Carr, here is how the offensive weapons shake out currently. This is just my top 10. Now, obviously, there's way more than 10 quality offensive weapons for Derek Carr, but these are just my personal top 10. So I think that Micahel Thomas, Chris Olave, I think you see very big comebacks for those, or a very big comeback for Micahel Thomas. I think you see a very big year 2 from him. Bryan Edwards, I personally think that he beats out Traquan Smith for a roster spot. There's familiarity with Derek Carr. A.T. Perry, he's your 6th-round draft pick. You traded up to go get him. I really like what the former Boilermaker was able to do. Or not Boilermaker, he was Wake Forest, he's the Demon Deacon. I was thinking Purdue for some reason, but black and gold, same thing. You know what I mean. The former Demon Deacon, he's going to be a very useful player. I think that he did a lot of really good things at Saints rookie minicamp, which you will get to find out in tomorrow's video. Rashid Shaheed, I believe that his role will be much bigger than it was last year. I think that we'll actually get to see a full season of him being a part of the offense. Alvin Kamara, obviously, there's the suspension looming in the distance. We don't know how long it's going to be. As of right now, the legal process still has to play out, but we will see how that pans out. But when he's healthy and when he can get used correctly, Alvin Kamara is great. Jamal Williams led all running backs in rushing touchdowns last year. He was a phenomenal addition to this depth chart, and I can't wait to see what he does in the black and gold. Kendre Miller, your third-round pick out of TCU. When he's healthy, I think he could be a very quality piece of your offense. Juwan Johnson, Mr. Reliable, your tight end, and Taysom Hill, of course. He's your flex. He is a guy that I am so excited to have line up, have be a part of the offense, and have back in the Saints locker room this season. All in all, guys, this is just a good thing for the Saints. You saw the 10 guys that were just listed. James Washington is going to fit right in with those 10 players because he's going to push the guys around him. You can't just expect James Washington to not make the roster. He's not a healthy scratch to not make the roster. He's a guy who, if you give him the opportunity to ball out, he will likely ball out. He just has to stay healthy. And as for an update on him in terms of his health, Nick Underhill reported health is good. He's healthy. He's ready to roll. There's not a problem with his foot anymore. He's going to be ready to go for training camp, for OTAs, and all that other stuff. But here's what Dennis Allen had to say before signing James Washington. And, we all know how it ended up. This is why we're making this video. He said, obviously he was injured last year, but there were some things we saw previously in terms of speed downfield, a guy that can get vertical into the defense. So obviously he's a guy we're certainly interested in potentially adding. Now, obviously, the Saints did add him. So in terms of just rounding things out for James Washington, he's healthy. He's going to be a New Orleans Saint. He's going to compete in the locker room for a roster spot. I think that this might be one of the most fun training camps that we've had in a handful of years, Saints fans. And I'll tell you why. Because I think that the Saints front office has done so many things and had made so many moves to build a winning roster, to build a quality roster and a talented group that Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael can lead and try and win some games and get back in the postseason. I think that this is a very realistic goal for the Saints to have. I think that Pete Carmichael and Dennis Allen should be better this year, but they have to have better play calling. We got to see how it pans out. And at the end of the day, we just got to see who makes the roster and how things shake out. Injuries, all sorts of things happen. You can never control anything. But let me know, Saints fans, do you like the signing of James Washington? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm going to be down in the comments spamming my Y. And while you're down there, you got to scroll down. You're going to see this really big red sub button. Don't miss it. It's impossible to miss. Just boop, just boop. Give it a little poke, give it a little tickle, and hit that sub button. Turn on your noties, lock us in, so that way you never miss any Saints news, rumors, or updates. Who Dat Nation, I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time.